For those of you who have been invited to sleep over at a female friend's place, especially someone you had not seen in a while, how did you read the situation? Did you assume it was a friendly gesture? Or did you feel there might be something more behind the invitation? If something physical happened, how did it start? If not, did you misread the vibe? I am curious to hear how men typically interpret this kind of situation and what experiences you have had. Edit 1. It is not a platonic friendship. Edit 2. Can someone help me figure out how to ask this question on the subreddit Ask Women? I just cannot seem to get past their strict posting rules, and I really think getting women's perspectives on this would be valuable. Story 1. I would assume she wants to try it under the circumstances you described. In other situations, such as with a good friend with whom I went out drinking and was invited to stay at her place, I would not. Story 2. If it is a friend that I am close with, it is usually because it would be a hassle for me to get home. It has happened many times and has always been completely platonic. If it is a friend that I have flirted with, then she wants to have a sexual relationship. Story 3. I can tell you as a woman, I would never invite a man over to spend the night if I did not want to sleep with him. Story 4. It really depends on the nature of your friendship with her. If you believe it to be strictly platonic both ways, then it is simply that. However, this could be a way to invite you into her home more easily. That said, signs are always inconsistent between one woman and another, so you need to be as aware as you can be or simply not have female friends like me. Story 5. You say it is not platonic friendship, so it is romantic, and she wants you to sleep over. I wonder what that means. Also, if you cannot get past the restrictions of Ask Women, try Ask Women No Censor. The ladies there are much nicer and actually allow a conversation. Story 6. I'm confused by all these answers. Does nobody here have any female friends they don't try to sleep with? If I go over to a female friend of mine and I sleep there, I will not sleep with her. Story 7. Sometimes it was sex. Sometimes it was a friend crashing at another friend's house. Both are real things that happen every day. Story 8. This hasn't happened, but I would absolutely assume it's more than just a friendly gesture. This is 100% a booty call. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't feel entitled to sex or anything like that. I would certainly take no for an answer if there was some misunderstanding or if she changed her mind. But my first instinct is it is a booty call. I am bringing condoms. If I ever stayed the night at a friend's house, it would just be for convenience. Like if we were hanging out and it was too late to drive home or we had consumed alcohol. But just inviting someone over to stay the night platonically for its own sake is strange. Do people do that? Story 9. If that were to happen, it would be so on. I'm still a boy at heart. I imagine she's still a girl at heart. We're building a fort, watching trashy movies, getting a pizza, making hot cocoa, and talking about anyone who isn't there. 100% straight and definitely male, but a guy who always wanted a sister and would value a female best friend like one. Sex is awesome. Girls are awesome. Both are awesome together and also separately. Value the girl who is mutually exclusive from your sexuality. Story 10. Ignore the people thinking it is sex and stop overthinking it. I would interpret it as her trusting me and wanting to hang out. If she has any other intentions, you will find out. Do not push anything. Story 11. I will never interpret anything a woman says or does as an indication that she wants to have sex with me unless she literally says, I want to have sex with you, or directly initiates physical contact. If it is anything less than that, I will simply think she is being kind. Story 12. This is what you do. This is gonna sound crazy, maybe even a little unhinged, but fucking talk to her. If you want to play it safe, just say something like this. Hey, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. If the answer is no, it will not change how I feel. Is this staying over thing an implication? Or am I just crashing on your couch? Story 13. You should just ask her or go with no expectations and let things unfold naturally. Enjoy your time together. Since you are 3 hours away and haven't hung out in a while, she might just want to catch up and is offering you to stay the night to be kind and make the drive less difficult. Maybe she could not maintain the friendship before due to her relationship, which is why you are not close friends. Regardless of whether you were involved before, it does not necessarily mean that is what she is looking for now. Signed, a female who has been in a similar situation and has had male friends, platonic, romantic, and in between. Story 14. The important thing to understand is that women are not a hive mind. They frequently have different intentions and desires from each other. For the women I know, it varies from expecting some action to expecting me to sleep on the couch. One might expect us to support each other. If one of us is bringing someone back, it may be 2 or 3 together. But she and I would not do more than hug. The first step is understanding your friend. Figure that out and you will know. Story 15. I hope everyone remembers to ask for consent if she invites you and you think it is to sleep with you. Story 16. Entirely depends on the friend. 99 out of 100 times, I would assume she wants something. However, I have a couple of friends that I would not touch even if they were in the same bed. Story 17. She ended up playing League of Legends with another guy who paid her money to play with her. She asked me to not make a sound so that I would not ruin her reputation for her service. Then she went to sleep. I ended up drinking alone in her kitchen. Story 18. This happened to me years ago. I reconnected with an old high school friend. At that time, I hadn't seen her for maybe 10 years. We ended up meeting to hang out and, on the third time, went to her place. We got really drunk and high, but it was still platonic at that point. As it got late, I was going to leave, but she asked me to stay since I was still messed up and she didn't want me to drive. I was going to crash on the sofa, but she said, "Come sleep in my bed. It's big enough." Somehow, we ended up hooking up, and it turned into a 3-year friends with benefits relationship. Ultimately, it ended badly because we never set boundaries and feelings got in the way. Story 19. That is how I learned that my wife, who was just a friend at the time, wanted to be with me. I was clueless before that night. Story 20. Never read too deeply into it. She invited you to stay over. Assume that means on the couch or a prepared cot, not her bed. If she invites you to her bed, get hopeful yet stay reserved. It is still not an invitation for sex until she clearly asks you to have sex with her. If she is going to play coy games, disengage and settle on the couch or cot. This is the best way to keep each other safe. Story 21. Always assume it is just a friendly hangout. If she wants more, she will let you know. An overstep can end a friendship at best and end up in a courtroom at worst. Story 22. For those saying she wants something more behind the invitation, this could very well be true. However, I would like to share a story of mine. I had a female friend, and we hung out a lot. One night, she invited me to stay over in her dorm. We literally slept in the same bed. I didn't make a move that night because we had a few beers and I didn't want to hurt the friendship. A week later, this time sober, we slept in the same bed again, holding hands at a few points while walking around. I thought she was definitely into me, so I asked her out officially, and she acted confused, saying it was all platonic. It was really awkward after that, and basically the friendship was over. We were both 18, young and naive. Now, I probably could save the friendship. The point is, it doesn't always necessarily mean they want more. Story 23. I crashed on the couch because I did not have anywhere else to go. I probably would have done sex at that time if it was offered, and certainly would have if it was necessary to avoid sleeping in my car. But it was never really part of the equation. Story 24. Not exactly the same, but when I was a senior in high school, I was talking with a girl from another school in my city. We talked every day for weeks. Then her parents went out of town. She invited me over to spend the night, and of course I assumed the best. When I got there, she immediately put me in her little brother's room to sleep, closed the door, and went to bed. She thanked me for coming over, saying this was the first time she had ever been left home alone and that she was scared. My friends didn't let me live that down for years and called me lame game for weeks afterward. My point is, even though I agree with most on here that this is a booty call, that is not always the case. I would just have fun and let the night lead the way. Take it from me, lame game himself. Story 25. Friends cover a lot of territory. I had platonic female friends with clear boundaries, and I would occasionally stay at their place late at night or share a hotel room during trips. Potential romantic friends fell into one of two categories. Yes or no. The yes were those who, if they initiated something, I would be willing to participate and they would spend the night. The no's were those with red flags or already headed to the friend zone, so I would politely decline with the excuse of an early morning commitment that I did not want to jeopardize, but I would suggest maybe a rain check. Story 26. If I am visiting from out of town, it is one thing. If she invites me for a sleepover, I am going to assume she wants to get intimate. Granted, no means no, and if it is a certain kind of friendship where she is like a sister, then I probably will not assume that, even if she does mean it that way. Story 27. It happened to me a few times. I asked, "Is this a hookup?" Right away. Takes the guesswork out of it. Story 28. What is the context? Are you traveling for a reason and she proposes to shelter you? Or is she a flirt and she invites you to dinner and to stay? If she wants to sleep in the same bed as you and suggests giving massages, maybe she is interested in more than just being nice. Story 29. If you are anything like Mac from Always Sunny, you know she just wants you to secure her home and provide safety for her residents. Story 30. Depends on the context. If driving conditions are horrible, I am taking the couch. If alcohol and cuddling are involved, I am in the bed. If she reaches or wiggles, there is sex happening. Story 31. The real answer here is that it totally depends on the context. Are you in town while traveling? It might just be a friendly gesture so you can avoid paying for a hotel. I would either say thank you, but I couldn't impose on you like that, or accept the offer graciously and be gentlemanly unless she makes an obvious gesture that she wants more. Do you live in the same town? She is most likely interested in a physical relationship, but play it safe. Don't push anything and observe the signs. Do you live in different cities but within driving distance or extended driving distance? She still most likely wants a physical relationship, but there are other less likely reasons. If you are interested, then go for it, but don't be pushy. Like everything in life, context matters. Story 32. A sleepover sounds like we are going to be sleeping together, unless she said it is platonic beforehand. Story 33. Depends. I have a friend I stay with sometimes and have slept in the bed together before, but I typically just sleep on her couch. A few times I have been invited to stay over late at night. It was never just to hang out. Story 34. If she invites me to stay overnight, it is to have sex. I also do not have any platonic female friends I spend time with, so there would never be an invitation in the first place. Story 35. Personally, I would not think there were any undertones, but I also do not have female friends, so I do not know how they think. Story 36. Am I my current age of 39, or am I still in school? Because if it is now, either she wants protection from something specific or we are hooking up. Story 37. If it is a little too late to be driving home, I would take the situation slowly to get a better understanding of her intentions. She might just be showing some courtesy. I will ask for a pillow and a blanket for the couch. Story 38. I can't imagine a situation where everything is not clear. If it is not a platonic friendship and she invites me for dinner and a sleepover, I am sure I am not sleeping in a guest room. If I walk her to her door and she offers me to stay at her place, I am sure I am not sleeping on the couch. Call me limited and unimaginative, but I cannot think of a scenario where I do not know what is going on. Worst case, I will ask if my snoring will bother her. Story 39. Why don't you make it less confusing and just do what you want? If you want to sleep with her, try it. If not, and you are just feeling pressured because you are a man and should want nothing else when a woman implies sex, then do not. Story 40. I've had sleepovers with female friends that never went beyond friendship. Only with friends I was very comfortable with and only when they were not seeing anyone. Half the time it was just working on school projects late into the night without worrying about going home. I would be lying if I said that I never thought about intimacy, but it was not something I actually wanted to do in reality. Story 41. It is for sex. Just do not be too excited and play it cool. Also, do not wait for the moment. Make the moment. Story 42. If we have had a sexual relationship before, then I would imagine she wants sex. If it has always been just friends, Then it is just friends. I had a friend with whom I shared a bed. She drew a hard line in the sand, no sex. Story 43. How old are you? What is the proposal? Is there a reason why you stay at her place? If there is no logical reason, she is interested in you and expects you to get the hint. Story 44. Superbad has a scene where Seth talks to Evan about Jules. By carefully analyzing what Seth says, you will understand the gist of what your friend wants. Story 45. Maybe she is a concerned citizen. In this time, with all the homelessness, one can never know for sure given the struggles out there. Story 46. During college, a female friend told me to swing by her school as I was driving back from our hometown. She attended a school located between our hometown and my school. I did, and she gave me a tour of the campus. Then we relaxed and watched a movie at her place. It got too late for me to drive home, so she told me to stay the night because her roommates were out of town. I went into the extra room to go to bed, but she appeared in the doorway wearing just a long t-shirt to say goodnight. I said goodnight. Sigh. Story 47. I am a woman, and I would never invite a male friend to stay the night if I did not want to sleep with him. Story 48. The first two female friends I had as an adult were like this. The first one stayed out with me too late and then needed to crash at my place. She had her own room, but she still wanted someone to snuggle with to fall asleep. I did not take her up on her offer that night, but we eventually became more than friends months later. The second friend and I had to get up early for a project. We worked hard, but then retreated to her place. She said she was tired and was going to take a nap, and I could join her in sharing her bed. I refused because she had a boyfriend. The brother code is sacred. To sum up, any woman who offers this when there are other more platonic options available wants you. Story 49. She is not a close friend. You have barely stayed in touch. She just got out of a relationship. She probably always thought you were attractive, and now she is single and making a move. I like how you say women are hard to read, but this seems straightforward. Story 50. It depends if it is in response to a date or if it is an offer after hearing you are having difficulties finding a place. If it is the latter, be grateful. If it is the former, well, you just scored. Story 51. It could not be a green light if you live really far away or if you plan on indulging in some drinks or drugs. You are both very enthusiastic about something that can last into the night. Otherwise, I am not saying you are there for the drama, but it is at least on the menu. Story 52. As a woman, I would not invite a man over to stay without a valid reason, such as drinking or not being able to make it home, unless I wanted to sleep with him. Story 53. It has never happened to me, and unless I was dating someone, I would not know why it would. If I were asked, I would imagine the context would make it clear why. If it did not, I would definitely get suspicious and think they were trying to make a move or something. Story 54. If I was inviting him to stay only, I would specify where he would sleep in the same sentence. For example, you are welcome to stay at my place. The couch is pretty comfortable. Or, I have a camp bed. If I wanted sex, I would just say, come over to my place and stay. Then I would take the lead once inside in case he was not sure. Story 55. Had this quite a few times over my life. The last one was about a year ago. I used to work in information technology. I have lead line senses for this kind of thing. We are still friends. She is back with her ex. I think that is awesome. Story 56. It's all about context. I would say never assume anything beyond the obvious. If she wants more, you will be able to tell while you are there. These assumptions that she wants more are how people get into trouble. Stay smart. Story 57. I'm having issues understanding the question. In the edit, you say it is not a platonic friendship, so is it already a friends with benefits type deal? If you have already slept together but are still just friends, I would see it as a continuation of that. I would expect there is a good chance you will sleep together if you stay over, if both of you feel like it that particular night. I think a more important question is to sort out if it is friends with benefits or if she is looking for a relationship. It is best to try to figure out where you both stand so no one ends up hurt. Maybe she sees it as moving into a relationship and maybe you do not. Story 58. I can honestly say that I have never stayed the night at a female friend's place or had a female friend stay the night at mine without us hooking up, except when the friend was visiting from another city or country. Even then, it has happened once or twice. I am not saying men and women cannot have platonic friendships. They definitely can. But in my experience, a lot of alcohol and sharing a bed can quickly turn a platonic relationship sexual, even with people I did not expect. However, I have some friends who are like sisters to me, and I would never try anything with them, no matter the circumstance. Not that they are not attractive, all my friends are attractive, but it would just be weird. Story 59. I would go prepared to sleep in a spare bed and just take things as they come. In my experience, if they do not specifically mention where you are sleeping, then they probably do not intend for you to sleep separately. This assumes there is some kind of attraction between you both in the first place. If they are literally just a friend, then it is spare bedtime. Story 60. My girl best friend is always vocal about inviting me to sleep over at their house. I often stay quiet every time she asks me because it feels awkward. She has a child and only sisters. There is a brother, but he acts like a girl. I usually make excuses like I'm not available, I have something to do, or I have plans the next day. I know it's just a friendly invitation, but I can't help overthinking. Sometimes she wants us to go on vacation with just the two of us. She is truly a best friend to me. She often treats me and sometimes even takes me shopping. Mind you, she has a child, and her boyfriend is in another country. Her partner says it is not a problem since my husband knows we are just best friends. But I can't with the thought of having a sleepover at their place, especially in her own room. Story 61. It's friend dependent, to be honest. My friend invited me to stay several times when we were both single, so I would go and visit her house and vice versa. It is quite odd to ask or assume if they have any intentions, so I guess you just have to understand what your friendship is. Story 62. It might be a casual call, but if it is not, do not waste your time. She needs to say it clearly because anything can happen. Story 63. Just ask her if you should bring your own air mattress, pillow, and blanket. She will probably realize to be more specific about her intentions when inviting you to sleep over. Story 64. I am oblivious to the fact that someone is naked in front of me. I do not assume anything except sleep. If something else happens, it is just a happy coincidence. Story 65. Anytime I have spent the night at a woman's house, we had sexual intercourse. The scenario you described makes it seem like she wants intimacy. Story 66. I was drunk and she did not want me to drive. I slept on the couch. We watched television and had breakfast together in the morning. Then I went back to my place to get ready for work. That is all. I should also add that this was 23 years ago, and we have been married for 20 years next month. Story 67. She will have drinks ready, indulge too much, pass out before anything happens, and you will have to take her to bed. Then you go back downstairs and sleep on an uncomfortable couch. Just me? Awesome. Story 68. In my experience, aside from a few rare situations, such as when friends are hanging out and one becomes too tired or intoxicated to drive home, adults do not generally sleep at each other's places without a clear motive or reason. For example, if I were going out of town with a friend, it might make sense to sleep over at her place to get an early start. However, if she randomly asks me to spend the night, I cannot imagine any reason other than wanting to be intimate. As I said, adults normally do not spend the night at each other's places without a valid reason. Story 69. I would interpret it as an invitation to have sex. Every time that happened, it was an invitation to have sex, and we did have sex. In perspective, I have had sex with almost all of my female friends. Story 70. Generally, I find expecting nothing and being pleasantly surprised when I am wrong is how I approach this. The kinds of women where I have ended up in situations like this are people I consider friends and enjoy spending time with, so it is not like I am opposed to the idea regardless of where it may or may not lead. That said, if you absolutely need to know, an open-ended question is not usually going to blow things up. So, is this just as platonic friends, something else, or not sure and we will see what happens? If something physical happened, how did it start? If not, Did you misread the vibe? Her getting much more cuddly and handsy than could ever be considered normal platonic interaction is a pretty clear indicator. But if nothing has been said about boundaries, treat it the same as I do with anyone where I do not know those lines. Take it a little slower and make it clear what I want to do next with words or what I am teasing at physically and see if I get a positive response or not. Story 71. I'm a friends first kind of guy. I prefer making friends with women and allowing that to develop into something else if the connection is there. I've had plenty of sleepovers with girlfriends where nothing happens, and I never initiate with friends to maintain trust. Of course, there are times when things do progress into intimacy, but it's never an expectation. That being said, she probably wants to be intimate, but be respectful in your approach in case it is otherwise. Story 72. It depended on the vibe and my own perception. I made a move with every girl I liked, given the vibe was right. I made no moves on girls I was not into, regardless of the amount of liquor. Every girl who asked me to spend the night was not just a friend. There were always interest undertones leading into it, from one or the other or both. I can only remember one girl I was not into who threw herself at me, and I still managed to get out of it by faking sickness. I just could not muster up the strength. Story 73. I had a female friend, someone I flirted with but knew we couldn't be more than friends. She invited me to her house with a group of people we worked with. I thought nothing of it until I had taken 7 shots, was kissing her, ended up sleeping over, and woke up naked with no idea what happened. I just got up, left, and never said a word about it. We are still friends to this day and have never spoken about it. Story 74. Depends. If she hands me a blanket and points to the couch, I get it. If she changes into tiny shorts and says, "Get comfortable," yeah, I am not that naive. Story 75. Missing a lot of context. I have stayed at several friends' places. I even slept in their beds, and some also came and slept in my bed. That did not mean anything. Define friend. Then why would you stay? In my case, I spent an evening at their place with several people, and as I was driving to get there, they proposed I stay to avoid drunk driving. Are you far away? What are the plans before staying out? Do not interpret it too much. Story 76. I understand the implication. I am married, so I would decline. Honestly, I would likely stop being friends with her at that point because she does not respect the boundaries of a married man. Story 77. A non-platonic friend invites you to stay overnight at her house, and you are the only one invited. I would assume that she is at least interested in sleeping together. Story 78. Pretty straightforward in my opinion. You need to make an innocent move. Sitting on the couch watching TV or a movie, with your hand on her knee or thigh. She says nothing. You massage from the knee to the thigh, then say something like, "Is this okay?" She will either provide consent or not. Move from there. Be prepared that if there is no consent, you have likely damaged the friendship unless you can recover from it. Story 79. Apparently, I missed out on many opportunities for intimacy during all the times I stayed at my girlfriend's place and did not engage in sexual activity. Story 80. She is not feeling safe or lonely and just wants some company. If she knows me, then she knows you have to be direct with me. It also depends on what she would be wearing. Story 81. Bro, just play it smooth, safe and sound. Folks in the comments have never been in this position and will send you off. I recently went to my old college's house with friends from college, and not once did we sleep together. They made me feel at home. We got high, drunk, watched a movie, and went to sleep once it was night after the bar. Story 82. This has only happened to me once, and I misread the situation. We had been talking and flirting on campus and had been out together. I thought she was suggesting that we take things to the next physical step. She did not mean that. I had mentioned earlier that I might stay in that night because I had not slept properly and it would be late. She was just offering me a place to crash so I could stay out without worrying about driving home. It did not help that she was very matter-of-fact during discussions about sex and relationships, so her tone was not an indicator either positively or negatively. Story 83. As mentioned above, Let her lead and do not assume anything other than a close friendship. She might be seeking comfort because of a recent breakup. That is also a reason to avoid sexual relations if she is just coming out of that situation, unless you are comfortable with a friends with benefits arrangement. However, if you really like this person and you have been friends for a while, it is best to wait and be the better person. Story 84. I, a 22-year-old female, would say that this could mean anything. It really depends on the situation. I would wait until you get there to see. She might just be trying to save you the journey back, or she might want to be physical. Alternatively, she could be approaching it with a more flexible, anything can happen mindset. I would not make her uncomfortable, but checking her interest throughout the night is key. If you lean in close, make sure to back away and see if she initiates any contact afterward or leans back in. Do not go into this with the mindset that it will go one way or another. Just see where the night goes. Story 85. You say it is not platonic, so take small steps and let her lead. Read the room. If she is telling you about a date she just went on or a man she is seeing, you are friends. Do not go further. If she is flirting and receptive to your flirting or touching, it is okay to proceed. Story 86. I had a female friend agree to stay the night with me after she stayed over too late. We slept next to each other in the same bed, and nothing sexual happened. I do not regret it. I hope she did not feel uncomfortable, and I want to apologize if I snored loudly, but we stopped talking shortly after. Oh well, I enjoyed the company. Story 87. I realize some of you freeze in place when you see a woman's chest, but you know you can follow up with, "Hey, just checking. Is this like a flirty night over or something else?" You can talk to women. They are not mute or deaf. Story 88. I suspect she is up to something. In today's climate, it is dangerous to assume she is into you like that. Story 89. I'm an outlier. I literally look at it as platonic interaction until it's clearly established otherwise. I've been through some real challenges and have seen a lot, so in many ways I prefer the woman to make the first move. Not exclusively, but if I get no vibe, I refuse to push. I prefer the woman who likes me, not the woman I like. That's just me. This overnight scenario happened to me 4 years ago with my current girlfriend. At the time, she was my platonic friend that I would sometimes work out with or run half marathons together. That was about the extent of our relationship. There were no midnight texts, midday texts, or anything of the like, unless it had something to do with exercise. It was purely platonic. Then it all changed. 1 month, she drove out to Wyoming to camp with a girlfriend of hers, literally in the middle of nowhere. At that time, I was on a business trip in Seattle, staying in a very nice hotel for several weeks. Toward the end of her camping trip, which lasted a couple of weeks, she asked if she could finish the rest of her trip with me in Seattle. She asked if it was okay to share my room. Truthfully, I didn't care. The room was covered by my company, and it would have been good to catch up with her and find out how her camping and hiking trip went with her friend. About a day or two later, she drove from Wyoming to Seattle, and I welcomed her to my room. The evening was a little strange when she showed up, brought all her bags, and we chilled out in the room. I sat on my queen bed. She sat on her queen bed because there were 2 beds in the room. I told her she was welcome to stay as long as she wanted because while she was there, I had to go to work. That night, to give her privacy as I always do, I went for a long run. She went to the hotel gym, lifted weights, and then about an hour later, she came back to the room. By then, she was showered and comfortable under the covers watching TV. I took my shower, dressed, came back out, got into my bed, put on my CPAP, and was ready to sleep. Meanwhile, she got out of her bed and walked over to the bathroom, probably to use it. When she returned, I realized she was wearing only a tank top and panties. I had only known her as super conservative. I had never seen any skin on her. She was always covered 100%, which I love. But this time, she wore a tank top and panties. I could see her nipples and her buttocks, which was very different for me because this was not the level of our relationship. When she returned to her bed, she sat up with her nipples poking right at me, smiling. Later, I found out she was actually staring at me. To keep the situation low-key, I said good night, rolled over, and went to sleep. I got up the next day and went directly to work around 6 in the morning. She was still sleeping, but that was okay. Later that day, around lunch, I received a text from her saying, "Hey, thank you for letting me sleep over. I'm going to be here for a few days, but I just want to ask you a favor. You're okay to say no if you want, but I really have to ask. I understand if you don't want to." I was intrigued and replied, "Yeah, what can I help you with?" She said, "Can we cuddle tonight in the same bed?" I'm not going to get into the details of the cuddle. I think you know where it went, but my point is she came over on a platonic visit only to get close in the end. To this day, we're still together, going strong. My other point is she was the aggressor in this instance 100%, not me at all. I didn't see it coming, not even a little bit, because we were platonic in every way. Story 90. I am starting to worry about my male friends after reading many comments here about guys just waiting for the opportunity to go at it with their female friends. I am not going to send an invite again. Story 91. In my opinion, you know the answer, you're just nervous. If she is not that good of a friend and you are traveling 3 hours to see her on a personal invitation, she is either incredibly naive or looking for some intimacy. Make the first move if she does not beat you to it, but work up to it naturally. If she pulls back, then what a messed up way to friend zone someone. Either way, you will either get lucky or have a funny story to share in the future about how you drove 3 hours to get turned down. Story 92. Since you are asking for yourself, have you considered asking? Did you mean like platonically or romantically? Should I pack protection? Or I don't know, take your picture. Story 93. If it is not a platonic relationship, I would immediately assume it is a sexual relationship. If it is platonic, then it is platonic. Story 94. I would play it platonic but make room for the possibility that she wants more, especially if you are spending time together in the bedroom. Story 95. It depends on the past relationship. I have spent plenty of nights with female friends just hanging out, and a few times it was because they wanted sex. I have had female friends with whom I never had sex but who just wanted to snuggle in bed and not fall asleep alone. I am normally there for what a friend needs, the same way they are there for me, whether guy or girl. The only difference is the potential for sex with some female friends in the past. I cannot say any of my male friends have ever wanted to snuggle. Story 96. You do not have to read anything. Just ask. Adults ask each other if they want to engage in intimate activity. Take the guesswork out of it. Save both time and avoid any misunderstanding. Only take an enthusiastic yes as your green light. Story 97. Platonically, unless expressed otherwise, some men really ruin friendships by trying to pursue a single person who shows any kindness. Story 98. In the past, I asked her what we were doing. Make sure to get all the details. If you are still in the United States, it is better to make sure you have it recorded. Trust me, as someone who used to work in crisis management, it is better to cover your actions. Story 99. Do not ask on Ask Women. You will just get abused and banned. It does not matter how you phrase it. I bet I will get banned for this comment, even though I am not a member and have been banned 7 times. Story 100. There might be more behind the invitation. In the past, I visited a good female friend with plans to just hang out and have a good time. She showed me her place, introduced me to her roommates, and even excitedly showed me her bedroom. Then she pulled me to her bed and started kissing me, which completely caught me off guard. As the night went on, we eventually had sex. It was a one-time thing, and we didn't really speak of it afterward. I have had a few similar instances with other female friends that were unexpected. I am often oblivious when it comes to females showing interest because I think their flirting is just them being cool and friendly. I would just feel it out and ride the wave to see how things go. Story 101. I am the kind of person who could end up sharing a bed with a naked woman and still say, well, I do not want to assume. Either she will eventually ask me directly if I want to have sex, or by the morning she will assume that I am gay. Story 102. As a woman, if you are not close enough or comfortable enough to ask her this question, then you probably should not be assuming anything. Story 103. If it is not a platonic friendship and she is inviting me to stay the night, I am not sure how to interpret that except as an invitation for a sexual encounter. However, I am an adult. Story 104. I am a 29-year-old female, and I think you should relax and see where she takes this. You should go in with no expectations, or you could simply ask. Story 105. I have faced the exact same situation multiple times. The woman offers for me to stay at her place. She says we can both sleep on the same bed, using the phrase, "we're both adults." While in bed, we may cuddle a little, but she doesn't make any moves, and eventually I go to sleep. After that, she avoids me and seems a bit upset. After 3 or 4 times, one woman finally texted me and asked, "Why didn't we have sex?" I talked to her about the whole situation, and she said she thought she was being straightforward. She admitted that she grew up with the messaging that proper girls do not want sex or initiate it, especially in a conservative state, so they rely on the man to initiate. So all those women were definitely making themselves available. She said that we're both adults, which I had always interpreted as we are responsible enough to share a bed without making it a sexual situation, was actually code for, if we want to have sex, that's our business. Was she speaking for the other women who had the same experience? You would have to ask them, though it does seem they all followed the same playbook. Story 106. Don't overthink it. I am a woman here. Show up and feel her vibe. If things seem flirty towards the end of the night, don't be afraid to make a move. Even if you are the one igniting the flame, she invited you to sleep over for a reason. We can safely assume your presence is wanted by her. See where it goes. Story 107. Don't bother posting in the Ask Women subreddit. It's useless because it has excessive moderation. I would typically assume it is platonic unless there is clear evidence otherwise. Story 108. My friends are men, and they often stay over and invite themselves as well. There is no romantic interest either way. If it is about convenience, such as being drunk, it being very late, or someone visiting from out of town, that is understandable. It means something if you live in the same city and this is not just about convenience. Otherwise, it is inappropriate behavior from a girl who is close to you. Story 109. In my experience, being invited to stay the night at a female friend's house often leads to sexual activity, especially if alcohol is involved. Story 110. The main point is obviously sex. However, she wants to spend some time with basic activities such as watching movies or singing. Story 111. How could she possibly be more direct? Are you expecting a written formal invitation? Dear prospective lover, you are cordially invited to insert your body parts into mine on the evening of May 17th, 2025. Yours truly, give it to me already, you dumbass. Story 112. It could go either way. Hang out, catch up on all you missed, or do that plus have sex. If you are comfortable, then do what feels right. Story 113. I crashed at my female friend's couch one time after a night of drinking. That night, we were meeting up with some friends in another town, and we were the only ones going from our area. Typically, our group meets at someone's house and takes a ride-sharing service together, but everyone else who lived near us was busy. The thought never crossed my mind at all, but it could be different if it was someone I barely knew. Story 114. I do not sleep over at female friends' houses. Why? Because I am not foolish. My wife would not agree with that. Story 115. When she is freshly out of a relationship, she might need someone to comfort her and may want to connect intimately. After a breakup, women are often confused and need someone to make them feel desired and valued. This opportunity can be brief. It may be a one-time experience, and she might have regrets afterward. She may mention an activity like hiking to make the invitation sound less like a casual sexual encounter. Many women are indirect about these things because they fear judgment and want the option to withdraw if it becomes uncomfortable or if they have second thoughts. Inviting someone for a sleepover, as you described, suggests she wants to be intimate and for you to make a move. However, she can still decide to say no at the last minute. Proceed with your actions, but expect anything to happen. Pay attention to the moment and do not force anything. Story 116. Play it by ear. Bring some comfortable pajamas, wine, snacks, and a movie or checkers. See where it goes. Tell her about how you once played strip poker with your ex and how you did not continue. Be funny and friendly, not creepy or overtly sexual. You're almost there, but the final step is the most challenging. Story 117. The subreddit Ask Women is a joke forum meant for self-validation and congratulating, where any form of real conversation fails to thrive. Story 118. She wants to have intimate relations. Why would a woman risk her safety if there was not something worthwhile to gain from it? Story 119. My friend invited me to her hotel room, where she was with her friend. We spent the night drinking wine together as a group and sat on the balcony, where they put my arms around both of them. After midnight, they asked if I was tired and invited me into their shared bed. I declined and slept on the floor to be polite. I realized what had happened about a year later while I was in the shower. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.